Let's take a look at that massive water main break that's kind of snarled us up a little bit here. You're looking at a live picture of the scene. Looks pretty, doesn't it? Oh, there we go. There's a pop there. And now we're worried about the temperatures dropping when the sun went night-night, right?
We got team coverage live from the Barclay neighborhood tonight. Let's head out to ABC 2 News' Roosevelt Lefwich and Josie Sturman. They're standing by with an update on what the situation's like there tonight. Guys?
Kelly, they are actually starting to mobilize. Just a couple of minutes ago, we began to hear them jackhammering here on Charles Street. Those BGE crews have been working on the gas lines underneath the street that have been a real cause for concern here.
Exactly, because with the water in this particular intersection, there's so many different utilities underground. You have water main, there's other water mains, smaller ones, then there's gas lines, electric lines, you name it. There's a lot of stuff running under the streets, and they just want to be very careful here that they don't break anything. Now, right now, if you take a look behind us, you can see that it's just kind of a trickle right now as the water's still coming out, but there's still a lot of water coming out. Millions and millions of gallons are still coming out. But let's take a look at what it looked like a little bit earlier where the water was really gushing out of that hole. It's right here at 20th and Charles. The water was running like the Susquehanna almost all the way down to the Charles Theater. At first there was concern that there might be some problems at Penn Station with the train tracks with water on those, but that didn't happen this time. But a lot of folks that live in the area, as they were walking around trying to get around all the streets and they saw all this water, they didn't know what to think about this.
I looked out the window, I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on now, you know? Terrible. And look at that. Look at all that. I feel sorry for the people, cars out there. Terrible.
For it to bust like that where the whole street coming up and the water comes, they keep moving it back and back and back because the street is coming up. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it sure is ridiculous when you see all that kind of water coming down there. Bus routes have been messed up. It's caused a few problems with the commuters in the evening, as Lauren was telling you. And once again, that temperature is dropping and something is falling from the sky, like a rain or a sleet kind of thing.
And they did have to have this morning a few temporary evacuations. There's a building across the street from us that had a bit longer of an evacuation. They said they are prepping to get them back into their houses, though, tonight. But, Rosie, you know, this is not the first water main break in the city. Feels like we're hearing these all the time. This is not the first. It certainly is not going to be the last, to create headaches here in Baltimore. We want to talk about the history of these. Even in just the last 6 months, we've seen at least a half dozen major water main breaks, including the one on Light Street. That one made history in downtown Baltimore. Repairs to that 20-inch water main took weeks to finish. That was an extremely old pipe as well. A week later, a break on Monument Street, which caused a giant sinkhole that diverted traffic there. And more recently, just last week, water main breaks on smaller pipes on Cold Spring and York Road were problematic further north in the city. Now, DPW, of course, says you can blame that aging infrastructure. That's going to take decades and hundreds of millions of dollars to fix.
I think everybody is hoping for some more infrastructure investment coming from the federal government. I mean, but that isn't here right now. So, you know, that's one of those things that I think we all need to push for. To say we need to invest in our old infrastructure here to renew it.
And they don't need a little bit of money. They need a whole lot of money, $300 million just for the next 5 years. And then for every mile of water main they have to replace, it's basically $1 million per mile. So that's a ton of funding. They hope for funding from the feds. But in the meantime, sadly, they're going to pass the cost on to you.
And the cost is also of fixing this break. I mean, if you look and you can see
there's
crews all over the place. But a lot of the city crews can't do anything until they're able to make sure that the gas and all the other mains are either rerouted or secured so that once they really start digging in that hole and get an idea of what they have there, that's the only time that they can really determine just the extent of the damage and exactly how much of this pipe that they have to really replace. But right now, let's toss it back to you guys back in the studio, and we'll have an update on this coming up at the top at 6. We'll also hear from a city spokesman as opposed to to talk about what's going on, what you're going to see, I should say, for the rest of the night.
All right.